Ben stepped out of the tube station at Ladbroke Grove and turned left, dodging two laughing mothers in Eritrean scarves pushing strollers up the road. He ducked into the Tesco a block up. He wanted Indian food and beer, but he didn't want to order delivery or go out. He didn't want to talk to anyone. He could barely tolerate the brush of fellow shoppers. He was in a foul mood. It was cold and damp. The sun had set at 4:30, and the fog had fallen with the dark. Even more than the damp weather, hunger, and crankiness was the impatience of waiting. He'd been in a holding pattern since he'd spoken to Tenzin a week ago. He had expected her 2, maybe 3 days after they'd spoken. So far, nothing. Not a single blessed sign of her, and he was hitting a brick wall with his research. He didn't have many friends in London. Gavin was in New York at his new bar. He'd called the house in Rome and tried to get Fabi to come visit him, but the sun-loving girl's only response was a laugh. Even Tenzin seemed to be avoiding him. She was probably at home, tucked into their clean and spacious new loft, putting holes in the walls with manic glee while his own boxes sat unopened in a corner of the office. Yep, pretty foul mood. Ben worked his way through the after-work crowds to grab a tray of lamb korma and a pack of Sharp's Pale Ale before he headed to the self-checkout. He didn't even want to talk to the clerk at the front of the store. He'd spoken to every early Celtic collector who would respond to him. He'd interviewed several professors and dug into old land records, but until he could meet with Gemma and hopefully Tywell, he was stymied. And until Tenzin got to London, he didn't want to meet with either of those two because he was more than happy to admit he was out of his depth when it came to teasing information out of very old vampires. Why was the damn line taking so long? He craned his neck to look around the older woman in front of him. One machine working. Perfect. He'd met Terence Ramsay for a drink the night after he'd landed at Heathrow. The vampire in charge of London was an old family friend of his uncle's. The Vic was also neck-deep in dealing with massive vampire political shifts in the Mediterranean at the moment, and didn't have much time to worry about lost treasures that no one born after 1000 AD really thought existed. His tired gaze landed on two teenagers who ambled in, suspiciously close to a woman with a diaper bag and a stroller. Ben narrowed his eyes as they moved closer. Damn it, he was going to have to talk to someone or they'd have her wallet in seconds. Just then, the woman's toddler let out a high-pitched shriek and the boys changed directions, unwilling to mark anyone attracting that much attention. Saved by the screaming 2-year-old. Ben moved 3 feet forward. Thunder rolled overhead, and outside the shop windows, rain began to pour down on the pavement. Why had he picked London in winter? Oh, right, gold and notoriety. The gold hoard of Brennus the Celt was a tale draped in shadows and wrapped in myth. It was an urban legend among vampires, for heaven's sake. A legendary treasure of weapons and gold artifacts so beautiful that Viking invaders wept at the sight of it, which was what gave Brennus time to kill them and hide his treasure, according to the rumors. But no one knew what had happened to Brennus, ancient immortal chieftain of Britain, much less his treasure. Everyone had stopped looking for traces of him, or it, 1,000 years before. That chapter of history had drifted into legends. Searching for the treasure was a dead end. If no enterprising vampire had found it in 1,200 years, then it was lost to history. Ben wasn't buying it.